It was a normal Monday morning. I got up and did my usual morning routine. After getting ready, I headed to the campus. There, I met my friends, Toby, Adam, and Jane. All of them were waiting in the cafeteria for me. I greeted them, and then we all went to class together. We were halfway through class, and I couldn't wait for it to end. There was something Adam was waiting to tell us afterwards. Over the weekend, he went on a trip with his family and told us that he had an awesome story to tell. Ever since his text last night, I couldn't wait to hear it. Minutes, which felt like hours, passed by and the class was finally over. I went over to Adam. "So, you said you have something to tell us?" I said. "Yeah, let's go to the cafeteria," he replied, and all four of us went. He started telling us about some abandoned, creepy-looking house he discovered while exploring around the hill station he was staying in. It wasn't far, just a few hours' drive away. "So, it's just an abandoned house. What's so interesting about it?" asked Jane. "Well, there's something odd about it. When I was passing by, I thought I heard a little girl crying. I wanted to check it out, but I didn't have much time," he said. "So, you want to go and check?" asked Toby. "I think we should go there and spend the night. I bet none of you can do it," said Adam. "Well, what's the prize for whoever does?" I asked. "How about the rest of the group will have to take orders from that person and he can treat them like servants," said Adam. We all laughed, and then Jane said, "That's the lamest prize I've ever heard of. And who said it's gonna be a he?" "I'll do it, because I'm not a wimp." "Yeah, I'll spend the night there too." Toby and I agreed. It was planned that we'd leave Friday evening. The week passed by and it was time to go. We all got our stuff and gathered at Adam's place as we were going in his dad's SUV. We left around 4 p.m. and reached the hill station somewhere around 7 p.m. We took a small stop there to use the restroom. We left the car there as we had to hike to the house because fallen trees had blocked the road and no way to drive around. We took our bags from the car and headed to the house. It was just minutes away from Hill Station, but it looked really creepy. I looked around its exterior and something about it just didn't seem right. Toby opened the front door and said in a loud voice, "Hello? Crying girl, are you there? Adam came back for you." And we all started laughing. The house was really old. There were spider webs all over the place, broken furniture, and a really odd smell. It smelled as if something had died in there. Adam and I opened all the windows, or what was left of them. It was now 9 p.m., and it was dark now. Jane had brought candles, so we lit them up and started playing cards. "It won't be hard spending the night in here. We should have planned something more interesting," suggested Toby. "Yeah, you're right," I said. "Look at the time, it's 9 p.m. already," said Jane. Adam stayed quiet for a while and then put his cards on the table before getting up. "Guys, I need to use the toilet. I'll be right back," he said, and he went up the stairs. We all continued to play cards while I grabbed a beer. I offered Toby and Jane one, but they refused. Around 15 minutes passed by and Adam still hadn't returned. We were so into the game that we didn't realize it. We were supposed to wait for him to get back before we could start, but we didn't. Around 30 more minutes passed by. That's when I saw the time. "Guys, where the heck is Adam?" I asked. Then Toby and Jane looked at the time too, and then Jane decided to go up and check. "He might be pulling a prank on us, so be careful," said Toby. Toby and I were chatting when Jane went up the stairs. It wasn't long after she left that we heard her screaming. We both sprinted up the stairs and were horrified to see Adam. He was laying on a bed with his head half open. His brain was literally out. There were some strings attached inside his head. His eyes were fully open and blood was dripping down onto the floor. For a few seconds, my body froze on the spot, but then I got back in my senses. "Let's get out of here," I yelled, and then we all turned around. As soon as we made it down the staircase, we heard a girl weep. It was so dark we couldn't see. Toby used his phone to flash some light. We saw a girl in red sitting on a chair, crying. The top of her head was wrapped in bandages. "Hey there, little girl, are you okay?" said Toby, approaching the girl. All of a sudden, the girl looked at him, and instead of tears, there was blood running from her eyes. She screamed really loud. It was so loud we had to cover our ears. As soon as it was over, I looked over and quickly jumped back to see Toby in midair. His phone was on the floor with the flashlight still on. He was attached to the walls with strings. There were strings going in every direction through his body and a knife in his throat. The top of his head was cut off and lying on the floor. A man wearing a white coat was standing there, doing something with Toby's brain while the girl stood beside the man. Signaling for Jane to follow me, I went to the main door very quietly, not making a sound. I slowly went out the door. While Jane was coming out, she accidentally bumped the door, and it made a creaking sound that caught the little girl and the man's attention. They both turned their faces towards us, and we started sprinting, not looking back. We didn't stop for a second until we reached the hill station. We didn't find anyone, and we just spent the night there. The next day, when we explained what happened to some workers, they contacted the police. We chatted with one of the workers for a while, and he told us a story about the house. In that house lived a heart surgeon and his young daughter a long time ago. The little girl had a fatal brain tumor. They went from town to town, but no surgeon would operate. As a last resort, the father tried to do the operation himself, but his daughter didn't survive. Not being able to live with the guilt, he committed suicide in that very house the same night. Before taking his life, he left a note. It read, quote, "If only I were a skilled brain surgeon instead, maybe I could have saved her." People believe that he waits for people to visit that house so he can practice on them. Jane and I looked at each other with horror because we knew the story was true.